This is Gary Rogers, Noggin Doctor again. We're going to continue on our 15-part journey through myths and misconceptions in torticollis and plagiocephaly. We've already been through a couple of them. The first one was the infant's soft skull is what causes the problem. That's not true. Obviously, if it was soft, all children would be affected. It's not the case, and there's really no empirical or scientific evidence to show this. The second one is that back sleeping is the sole cause. That's completely untrue, although back sleeping does exacerbate the risk and certainly accentuates the risk, but it is not the primary cause of plagiocephaly. And so that is, torticollis is one of the primary causes, and developmental delay and prematurity. So we went through those before. We're going to go through another one here, and the one that I love is my baby had it at birth, and it just got worse. So they were born with it. And this goes back to when I was a trainee. I remember in Boston Children's, Dr. John Mulliken, my mentor, probably the greatest pediatric plastic surgeon ever to live, would say this to me. He'd say they get flat, they're flat coming out, and then they roll to the flat side, kind of like a ball that has a dent on one side, kind of flips to that side naturally. And so he did a study with one of the residents at Boston Children's, and went to the NICU and showed that there was a 2 to 3 millimeter discrepancy in a lot of kids. What he didn't do was follow those kids forward to see if those are actually the kids get flat. So his deduction was, yes, there's an asymmetry at birth in a certain number of kids, and that these kids go on to get flat. And this difference is about 2 to 3 millimeters. So imagine, again, go back to the ball analogy, that you have a discrepancy that's maybe 2 millimeters. That's a very small discrepancy. And I used to say to him, John, this has to develop over time. This develops over 4 to 6, 7, 8 weeks, and then longer after that. And so it can't be that flat spot, 2 millimeter difference, is going to bias a child to go to that site. It has to be something more. And the more was, in my mind, as a trained orthopedic surgeon, I trained as an orthopedic surgeon before as a plastic surgeon, I'm bored in both, is that this is torticollis driving the head to one position, and this was what exacerbated over time. So he did the study, and then, of course, there was a study that came out pretty far after that by a gentleman in the Netherlands, Van Bloemeren, who's done a lot of studies in plagiocephaly work, and what he showed was he looked at kids at birth and at 7 weeks, and what he found was there was no correlation between head asymmetry at birth and the kids who had head asymmetry at 7 weeks. So basically dispelling the myth that the flat spot is there at birth and then develops later on. It is absolutely true that kids can get deformational flattening in utero, just like they can anywhere else. But what happens is, if they don't have a tendency to keep on laying on that area or having compression on that area, the brain rapidly pushes the cranium out. The brain is a very, very fast accelerator early in life of cranial growth, and the cranium is growing in response to brain growth. You can imagine if there's a flat spot, that as the brain continues to push out, that flat spot is going to get less and less very quickly. And so we see lots of head deformation early on that tends to correct very quickly. Some of it can linger. If it's severe enough, it certainly can linger. But again, that's not the reason why a child favors a spot, which is almost every kid with plagiocephaly, over time after time after time, week after week after week. That is torticollis. Okay, until next time.